illicit and suspect food.
Like, 3 things you mentioned. The 3 things you mentioned are things that, or the 4 things that will make you practicing religion difficult. That stop you from being a good Muslim. What are the 4 things?
Ignorance.
Long hope.
Ignorance is one.
Long hope.
Long hope. So what does long hope mean?
Procrastination.
What does that mean? Give me an example how long hopes is a way of you not practicing religion.
Getting lazy.
Example. Give me an example.
Like I wish I'm gonna start fasting next week or next month or next.
Well, I'll start praying when I get older. Like, what's the next thing? What's the 3rd thing?
That's the 3rd one. The 2nd one. Weakness in faith.
Weakness in faith. Weak iman. The thing that stop. And the 4th, a final thing? Yeah, eating haram. Eating haram foods. 4 things stop you practicing. Anybody that stops practicing religion, anybody that finds it hard being a Muslim, 4 things, the 4 causes. The first is jahl, ignorance of the deen. The 2nd is what?
Iman.
Iman, weakness in iman. The 3rd is?
3rd one is
Come on.
long hope.
Long hopes. And the 4th is eating haram. This is what we're on right now, the 4th one. Bismillah. A different book.
Consuming illicit and dubious food inevitably hinders obedience and
Page number.
Page number 20.
Page number 20. Bismillah.
Consuming illicit and doubtful food inevitably hinders obedience and invites transgression. The Messenger of God is reported to have said, he who eats haram permissible, his members obey whether he wishes it or not. But he who eats haram, forbidden food, his members sin whether he wishes or not. And eat what you will, for it is how you will act. A certain Gnostic once said, people are surveyed from the truth and excluded from the circle of sainthood only because they do not scrutinize what they eat.
So the food is very important, what we eat. The food is what we eat, very, very important. And he says that if you're eating haram, this will stop you from doing good works. Eating haram will stop you from praying. Eating haram will stop you from the mosque. Eating haram will stop you doing the good things you're doing. Eating haram. What makes something haram? Like eating things that are haram for us to eat, like what? Alcohol or pork, anything from those sources that are haram to eat. Then there's things that there's doubt. There's doubt in whether they're halal or not. Nowadays, much we've got the V sign, a lot of the food, vegetarian. But sometimes we don't look. Sometimes you got a V sign and look at the ingredients, there's alcohol. Alcohol used. I don't mean vinegar, it's left in the I won't talk about vinegar. I'm talking about sometimes you've got red wine, or some type of alcohol in it. So you have to be careful, check. Eating the wrong type of food will stop you from being a good Muslim. Like, people don't think about this. People don't think about this at all. Make sure that the food you're eating is halal, pure. You're on camera, by the way.
Sorry?
You're on camera.
Just to verify this hadith, there's been a hadith that narrated that eating pork can also kill your pride. Is that true? And elaborating a bit depth, please.
I'm not aware of the hadith. Where did you hear it? Well, I have to look at those.
He whose food is illicit or suspect, even when he acts in obedience, he whose food is illicit or suspect, even when he acts in obedience, his acts are unacceptable to God. For God the Exalted says, God only
So even if you eat haram, and even if you pray and you fast and you do everything, what Allah has said in the Quran, that your deeds are not accepted. Your deeds are not accepted because you're eating haram. You have a haram job. Your job involves you doing the things which are haram. And you come when you pray and you do everything. That's not going to be accepted. Why? Allah only accepts that which comes from those who have taqwa and taqeen. Wallahu tayyib, la yaqbal illa tayyib. Allah is pure and good and only accepts that which is pure and good. And halal and haram is not pure. And it's not good.
God is good and accepts only what is good. O my brother, refrain from eating the illicit, for this is obligatory, and disrespect, for this is dictated by scrupulousness. And seek only the licit, for this is an obligation among the other obligations. When you obtain licit food with clothes, eat with moderation, and dress with moderation.
طيب. So let's say you're having halal food. You've got things which are halal. Right? Don't eat too much. Too much of a good thing is bad. Yeah? Take everything in moderation. Don't eat too much, especially in Ramadan. Imam Al-Ghazali, in his book Ihya, he said there's certain people in Ramadan, they eat foods that are more better than outside of Ramadan. They eat foods and things that they don't eat the rest of Ramadan, and the more الفخر فيها أكثر. It's more luxurious foods, and more special type of food, a more richer type of food in Ramadan than outside of Ramadan. The whole point of Ramadan is to control your nafs. You shouldn't be eating as much. You shouldn't be, and you say you should not be eating as good food as we are doing now. The food should be eating a bit less. What's the point? You starve. And at the end, you give it everything it wants. Your nafs, this nafs. You have a nufus, nafs al-ammara, nafs al-mutma'ah, nafs al-lawwama, nafs al-mutma'inna. The lower self, nafs, you give it what it wants, it will tell you what to do. Don't give it what it wants. You tell it what to do. And one of the biggest ways of controlling yourself, your nafs, is by controlling the amount of food you give it.
O my brother, refrain from eating the illicit, for this is obligatory. When you obtain illicit food and clothes, eat in moderation. Do not be excessive, for the illicit does not bear excessiveness. Beware of eating to satiety, for eating illicit food to satiety is the beginning of evil.
SubhanAllah, eating halal food until you're full is the beginning of evil. When you're eating too much of halal, not haram, not talking about haram, we're talking about halal food. Eating too much halal, you get full, it's the beginning of evil. How? Oh my dear, I'm not doing anything wrong. But this is the beginning. Eating too much. What happens when you eat too much? You drink too much. If you drink too much, you're going to sleep too much. And if you sleep too much, you're not going to be praying much. If you're not praying much, then you're going to be doing haram. Food is very important. The ulama of the past, very careful. The ulama now, very careful in types of food. How much you eat. Moderation. He's going to mention now a third of your stomach for water, a third of your stomach for food, and a third for air. People think that's the maximum. When the Prophet was mentioning that, if you're going to eat, then don't go too much. People now use it as a starting, a third for water. That's what we start. That's the end. The most. Bismillah.
What then is illicit food? The Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa said, the son of Adam never fills a vessel worse than his stomach. It should suffice the son of Adam a few morsels to keep his back straight. If he must, then a third of his stomach for food, a third for beverage, and a third for his prayer.
The next chapter deals with several issues that are going to be talked about, inshallah, in the next remaining classes. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said, وَمَا خَلَقْتِ الْجِنَّ وَإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Allah has only created man and jinn so that we may worship. What's the point of life? Why are we here? What's the point of creation? So that we may worship Allah. And like I said, people talk about this issue. Why are we here? What's the purpose of life? Where are we going? What's it all about? It's very simple. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has already told us the purpose of life is to worship. You don't have to go on big philosophy and big ideas and this type of thing. Very, very simple. Worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But you can't worship unless you know. You can't worship Allah azza wa jalla unless you know Him. So the purpose of life is to know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَمَا خَلَقْتَ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسَ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Or إِلَّا لِيَعْرَفُونَ. To know, ma'rifah. And Allah says, يَا عِبَادِيَ الذين آمنوا إن أرضي واسعة فإياي فاعبدون. O my slaves, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, O my slaves, those who believe in Allah, believe. My land, the earth is vast. The earth is vast, the land is vast. So, وإياي فاعبدون. Translated as,
definition. How is whom we should worship?
That it is I whom we should worship.
That is, and Allah is the one that we worship. The land is vast. How many of us have come from different lands? None of us are from here. We all came, some of us may be born here, but most of us came from our parents or grandparents, came from abroad, or ourselves, we came from abroad. Okay. Allah has it. Like the frog who jumps from one part of the well to the other part of the well. There was a famous story. A wise man told me, there's a well, you have a well, and a frog is standing on one part of the well, the edge of the well, and it'll jump over the well into the other part, the edge. And that frog thinks it's jumped halfway across the well. He's only jumped over the well. He hit the well. He jumped. Just think it's jumped over the big distance. The world has jumped over. That's how some people they think of themselves. طيب Bismillah.
12. Sincerity.
So this chapter is about sincerity. Allah has said for us to have sincerity. And Imam Abd Alawi says, فَعَلَيْكَ أَيُّهَا الْمُؤْمِنِ وَفَقَكَ اللَّهِ بِالتَّفَرُّقِ بِالْعِبَادَةِ. O you who believe, O you who are worshipping Allah, free yourself to worship Allah. Free yourself to worship Allah. And staying away from those things that cut you from Allah. Staying away from the obstacles that prevent you from being near to Allah. What obstacles? Ignorance, the dunya, your shahawat, your nafs. These are obstacles between you and Allah. Leave everything away and look closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
God the Exalted says, I created jinn and sprites, jinn and mankind, so that they may worship me.
Why did Allah mention the jinn first in the ayah? مَا خَلَقْتَ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسِ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. Why did Allah mention the jinn and then the jinn? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the jinn first. That's why Allah mentioned the jinn. Bismillah.
And O my servants who believe, my earth is vast. It is I whom you should be worshipping.
Not the dunya. Allah's land is vast. We should be worshipping the dunya. We don't really worshipping the dunya means that you give the dunya more preference over Allah or over Allah's wajibat. Almost worshipping. How many people worship the dunya? Worship the dunya. After the dunya, latest car, latest phone, latest car, latest clothes, everything. They want the latest. Worshipping the dunya. Spending more time thinking about the dunya than thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Almost worshipping. Almost.
O believer, may God grant you success. You must free yourself for the worship of your Lord by removing all hindrances and avoiding all diversion obstacles. Know that worship cannot be found without knowledge.
Worship. You want to worship Allah correctly? The purpose of life is to worship Allah. You can't worship Allah correctly unless you have what? Knowledge. You have to have knowledge. What you think you could just come pray and go home and fast? How do we fast? What things break our fast? How do we pray? What things break our prayer? We mentioned yesterday, follow the ilm. Every Muslim has to know a certain amount of knowledge, how to pray, how to fast, how to do zakah, how to go to hajj. For those who want to get married, how to get married. You can't just not know these things, you have to know. And how many Muslims don't know these things? So in order for you to fulfill the verse of Quran, in order for you to fulfill the purpose of your existence, to worship Allah, you have to know how to worship Allah Azza wa Jalla. That's what he's saying. Once you have knowledge is not enough. You have to have knowledge to worship Allah. That's not enough. We don't stop there. So you have to have one ingredient. That one ingredient is al-ikhlas, sincerity. What's the point of you having knowledge? Alim, Sheikh, mashallah, and you act by that knowledge. You pray, you teach, and it's not mukhlis. There's no sincerity. No point. There's no point. You're more likely to get punished. That's why he's trying to say here. That's why the point of this chapter is Muslims being sincere. We're praying sincerely for Allah. Not because our parents told us to come. Not because if we don't come, everyone starts talking. We're fasting. Why? Because Allah has told us to fast. Right? We're not fasting because our parents are going to shout at us, or our wives may shout at us, or because I'm the Imam. We have to. It doesn't matter. We have to do it. We have to do it. Sincerity, doing this sincerely for Allah. I'm going to mention several examples from the Ihya today about Riya showing off.
Knowledge and works cannot be of benefit without sincerity. For it is the axis around which everything resolves, the foundation upon which everything stands. As Abu al-Qasim al-Qushayri said, Rahimahullah, sincerity is to have no other intention than the real in your acts of obedience.
The real meaning of Allah. إفراد الحق في الطاعة بالقصد. To single out Allah, all your acts of worship. You read it. Why are we reading the Quran in Tarawih or outside Tarawih? Why are we reading the Quran? For Allah. Allah does not need it, but we're doing it to please Allah. Why are we sitting in the mosque? Why are we doing it at Why are we sitting here in the class? We're doing it what? To please Allah Azza wa Jalla. Be careful, some people will come to classes to hear more knowledge, to learn something new. Is that it? طيب يعني anything else? So that people forget. Why are we coming to pray? We're coming to pray because we have to be good Muslims. What about Allah? Doing it to please Allah. A lot of people forget this. Bismillah.
Which means that you should intend with your acts of obedience to draw nearer to God, nothing else.
To draw nearer, that's the point of our fasting. If the children can stop running around, inshallah, and keep still, inshallah. And if the parents can be listening to this as well, that'd be good.
No ostentation before a created being. Wish to be praised by people.
Wish to be praised by people. MashaAllah, Fulan, he started praying in the mosque, MashaAllah. And you like that. You like to be told, oh, MashaAllah. Oh, Fulan, he's reading the Quran now. Oh, Fulan, he's a Shaykh. Oh, Fulan, he's doing i'tikaf. Oh, Fulan, he comes to class. Oh, Fulan. And then, when you hear this, you get a nice little tingling in the back, and you start doing these things, you start praying, come in the mosque, some people can say, Fulan, look at Ibn Fulan, look at so-and-so, MashaAllah alayhim. Is that what you're doing it for? And if they stopped praising you and they stopped saying good things, would that mean you stop? Or would you find something in your heart, why are they praising me? Why are they saying good things about me?
Wish for their own your favour, or anything other than draw nearer to God. He said, it would be true to say that sincerity is to freely act from watching created beings. This is the essence.
Sincerity is, say again. Say again.
To free the act from watching created beings.
To free our acts, our salah, our zakah, our khidmah, everything we're doing from the eyes of people watching us. It doesn't matter if you're watching, if they know you're praying or not, they know you're coming to the class or not, they know you're teaching or not. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, you're doing it for Allah. Whether people know or not. Very dangerous. When I read the examples, you're going to see how many of us have riyah in the things that we never thought of. Bismillah.
Ostentation.
There it is. Ostentation. Ostentation means showing off. Abiyah. Doing things other than for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bismillah.
Beware of ostentation, for it invalidates what you do, leads to the loss of reward for your deeds, and brings on detestation and punishment. The Messenger of God sallallahu alayhi called it the lesser idolatry.
The lesser shirk, al-shirk al-azghar. People talk about shirk. The shirk you need to, and the Prophet has told us in the hadith sahih, that shaitan has despaired. Isa shaitan. From what? That all the people will associate partners with Allah in Jazirat al-Arab, in the Arabian Peninsula. There's no more shirk. The Prophet has said in the hadith sahih. Bukhari Muslim, hadith sahih. The Prophet said, shaitan has given up on people doing shirk in the Arabian Peninsula. But he's not giving up on other stuff. And the shirk al-azghar, the lesser shirk, is doing things for other than the sake of Allah. Showing off. Give you an example. We mentioned there was a man praying in this man came to pray in the mosque. And he's quiet, nobody there. And he's praying, doing it quite quickly. Then he hears the door behind him, the door opens. And they hear the footsteps. So then he's like, oh, someone's here. And all of a sudden now he starts reading Salah a bit longer, perfecting it. All of a sudden, and now he's wondering, I wonder who this person is here behind me. So he starts perfecting it, making it longer. His recitation is better, perfecting his movements and the ruku'. Which had he not heard the footsteps, had he not heard the door open, he would have finished a long time ago in his prayer. So he finishes his prayer, and then he starts making a long dua in the salah afterwards, mashallah, then wipes his face. He gets up very humble, walks towards the door, and before he leaves the mosque, he wants to see who the person is, that he's trying to impress. I'm a very pious person. So he looks at the corner, and what does he see? A goat. An animal came into the mosque because it was so hot outside. And he said to himself, SubhanAllah, I was making my salah long, I was making my prayer long, I was doing everything to impress a goat. Okay. Then he said, he made tawbah and he did his prayer again. SubhanAllah. This is a shirk as well.
If no one was there, who was it narrated by and who was confirmed?
It was him. It was a story. It's all a story. It's not a hadith. It's a story. This person, he said that look how stupid he was.
Oh.
Which is ajib, subhanallah.
His repentance.
And he made tawbah after that. Subhanallah. I'm trying to impress a goat.
The first of God's creation to fuel the fire will be three.
SubhanAllah, this hadith is very powerful, and we mentioned it again. 3 people, in the hadith sahih, 3 people on the day of judgment will be called to account. The first one will be a man, رجل قرأ القرآن. A person who?
A man who recites the Quran so that it is said he is a reciter.
MashaAllah, Fulan is a qari, Fulan is a sheikh, MashaAllah, he's a very good reciter. طيب, on Yawm al-Qiyamah, Allah will say to that man, or anybody who has knowledge, what did you do with the knowledge I gave you? I taught people, I explained, I had classes, I kind of. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, you lied. You did it. You taught people, you recited, you did all these things so people could praise you and say, oh, you're a shaykh and kind of. And people did that. That was your reward. However, today, your punishment is hell. But what did he do? Did he drink alcohol? Did he have adultery? Did he do anything major wrong? All he did is that he was a scholar, an alim, or a sheikh, or a qari, who never did anything major haram. Only thing that he did it not for the sake of Allah, and he gets thrown into hell. That's the first one. The second one,
a man who is killed, having fought humbly, so it is said, he is courageous.
the man who fights in jihad. And in jihad, one of the biggest acts of worship. And what happens? This man will go to hell. Ooh, what did he do wrong? This man will get thrown into hell. Because he did it showing off. Outwardly, everyone will not be, oh, he's a big oh, he's a big sheikh, oh, he's a person of jihad, a person who has a lot of money, didn't do anything haram, he gets sent into the hellfire. Will those people who do haram? And the third and final?
A wealthy man who gives charity. Humbly, so it is said, he is generous.
So what is showing off, or ostentation as I say? Ariyah. What is Ariyah? What's all about?
Sheikh, one question. Do they make a point, because in the hadith, so mentions that you mentioned specifically that it's a qari. Like, do they make more a point of the qari than like other ulama? Because like the qari is maybe more, something a knowledge you will see, or is it like, do you know what I mean? Because of
Imam Al Ghazali says Al-Qurra in his books. He specifically. But he made it by extension, even those people of ilm, but specifically they mention it as Quran, because in his day and age, the reciters of Quran were people who you can show off a lot more, that type of knowledge. Whereas other types of knowledge of hadith, knowledge of fiqh, or anybody who gives good speeches, they have more chances of showing off. Whereas a scholar he's a mufti, or a muhaddith, for example, or has studied the Arabic language in depth, for example, these type of scholars, it's very hard to show that off. So showing off for them is a bit more difficult. Whereas the qari, or public speaker, it's more easy for him to show off, as we'll mention here.
Ostentation is to seek importance in people's eyes.
طيب. So why do we do things for the sake of other people? It's what? Because you want a position in people's eyes. You want people to say something good about you. Someone fasted, mashallah, you want to walk into the mosque or pray in the mosque, and you want people to see you. Oh, why? Because you want a position in people's hearts. Person did this, person read that, a person went this, a person went that. And you want people to give you that position in their hearts. Forget the people. Allah, yakfik. Well, no, that's not enough. I want people to know.
When acts that draw nearer to God, such as ritual prayers and fast, should you perceive ostentation in yourself? Do not try to rid yourself of it by abandoning words.
Some people that realize that they're doing acts of worship because not for Allah, they're doing it for people. Some people then what they'll do, they'll stop doing the act. I won't go to the mosque anymore. Why? Because I'm not sincere. I'm not going to pray Tarawih because people are going to start saying, look at so-and-so, he's praying Tarawih, or look at so-and-so, he's praying in the front line, mashallah, he's doing it. And some people, shaitan will come to them and say, oh, look at this, astaghfirullah. You're not doing it for Allah, you're doing it for people. And then shaitan will say, stop it, be sincere. And from shaitan, don't stop, continue praying, continue coming to the mosque, continue doing what you're doing, continue being as best as you can, keep going, but have the intention in your heart to jahad nafsak, struggle against yourself. But for you to leave the act, coming to the mosque, or praying, or fasting, or coming to Jum'ah, because you worry what people might start saying about you, which you're praising, you don't want people to praise you, don't stop. A lot of our young people, they make that mistake. They'll start coming to the mosque, and people, they won't come to the mosque, because people start saying, oh, look at so-and-so, mashallah, he's coming to the mosque. Shaitan will come and trick. Don't forget, Shaitan's an alim. Shaitan is a scholar. He's taken many people to hell. Shaitan is people who have gone to hell because Shaitan has led them astray. Scholar. Shaitan wasn't a stupid person. Just because you have ilm, doesn't mean you're going to be saved either. Be careful. Shaitan had more knowledge than anybody else. And then look what happened to him. His knowledge got him arrogant. His arrogance made him refuse and said to Allah, I'm not going to bow down to Adam. Who's Adam? Who am I? I have more knowledge. I've worshipped you more than Adam. I'm not going to bow down to him. خلاص. الطرد. Kicked out, expelled from Allah's Jannah. طيب بسم الله.
Works that can be done in public, such as going on pilgrimage, jihad, acquiring knowledge.
Certain things you can't do unless you do it in public. Like what? Like al-Hajj. You can't do Hajj by yourself. That's something you can't hide. You have to do it in public. Al-Hajj, jihad, studying knowledge, praying in Jama'ah, praying Tarawih. You can't do these things unless you do it in public. So don't stop them. Keep going. And jihad nafsak, check yourself, check your sincerity all the time. However, there's certain things that you can do quietly, certain things you can do privately. For example, you have an opportunity to give zakah. Right? Like you have an opportunity, you're going to drop your money in the box. Zakat al-Fitr. Now you have two options. You either do it during Tarawih or during Jum'ah. Everyone sees you and you're dropping clink, clink, clink in the box. Or you can do it quietly when no one's there and then you drop it in. Which is better? Quietly. Why? Because no one knows it. The question you have to ask yourself is, why do you want to do it? Why do you want to drop your zakat al-fitr, for example, in the box when everyone's watching? Why? Why is your heart saying, do it now? Why do you feel like sweetness? Why? You have to check yourself. You have to check.
Strive against your ego, seek God's As for other kinds of work, like fasting, night vigils, charity and recitation, these you should go to extremes to conceal.
Aywa, these type of things, try and hide them. Don't do it in public. If someone comes in and sees you, khalas. Doesn't matter. But if you have the opportunity to read or do act of worship, and you have the opportunity to do it quietly or in public, always take the quiet.
For performing them in secret is unreservedly preferable, except to those who are safe from ostentation, who hope to be emulated by others, and who are qualified for theirs.
Let's give you some examples, inshallah. Some of you may not like what you're about to hear. Okay. Remember, I told you yesterday, Imam Al Ghazali is known as being from those ulama who reveal to you your defects. And the ulama al-dunya don't like Imam Al-Ghazali. They'll say all things about him. However, ulama al-akhirah, they like Imam Al-Ghazali because Imam Al-Ghazali reveals to you what you're going wrong. Let's have a look. Say we're going to go through different types or examples of where people are, where they think they're doing things for Allah, where they think they're being good Muslims, but in reality they're doing it for other than the sake of Allah. Like what? كَالَّذِي يَصَلِّي بَيْنَ أَظْهَرَ النَّاسِ, like the one who prays in front of people. However, when he's by himself, if he's by himself, he won't pray. When he's with a group of people, he'll pray. Okay? When it's Taraweeh, he'll pray. Like if he never came to the mosque, he's by himself at home, would he pray? No. Or he's sitting, for example, sitting in the i'tikaf, for example. He goes in the i'tikaf. The Fajr time comes, for example, and you get up and pray Fajr. If nobody else got up, he wouldn't get up. I'll give you another example. Your sunnah. When you're in the mosque, everyone prays the sunnah. Well, they should pray the sunnahs. But when you're at home, you're praying Isha, or you're praying Fajr, are you praying your sunnah? Why is it in the mosque you want to pray the sunnahs? You have the energy to pray your sunnahs, but at home, just a fard. And get back to the TV, get back to the internet, get back to what you're doing for the sunnah. You don't have the motivation to do the sunnahs. But in the mosque, you have the motivation. Why? Because a lot more people. Which is a good thing in the sense that it encourages you. But are you doing it for Allah or are you doing it for the people? You need to elevate yourself. Another example, where you have some money, and this money is you've given it to someone to look after, and the time for zakah comes, and you feel embarrassed that the person who has your money, you feel embarrassed that he's going to find out that you're not going to give zakah. So because of the fear of him knowing the person who's looking after your money, that you're not giving zakah, you give it out. So it's no longer fear of Allah, it's fear of the person thinking bad of you. I'll give you another example. People who, if I don't go pray Taraweeh, people will think bad of me. So that's your motivation for coming to pray in the mosque. If I don't come to pray in the mosque, people will start talking bad about me. Who cares what people think about you? It doesn't matter. Let them think. And even if you come to the mosque, they'll be talking about you anyway. They'll think about, you don't even come in the mosque because of this, you don't even come in the mosque because of that. Forget people. Forget the people. And he says here, and if that man wasn't holding his money, his wealth, he wouldn't give zakah. But because the man's holding his wealth, and the man's looking after his wealth, and when you think bad of him, that's what you think about his zakah. Or in the group of people, you're with the group of people, and it's time for salah. It's a group of people, and it's time for salah. Yeah, and then everyone gets it. It's time for salah, it's time for salah. Let's go and pray. And if you were by yourself, you will normally pray. Because that one person has reminded you, it's time for salah. And some people want that person to keep quiet. Some people won't like that person to remind them it's time for salah. It's a type of showing off. Or like this, fasting Ramadan. And he wants to break his fast, but too many people watching him, so he can't break his fast. Your fasting is for people. If you were able to get away with eating, you would eat. Fasting for people. How about this one, Jum'ah? SubhanAllah, where's so-and-so today? He never prayed Jum'ah. Astaghfirullah. These type of things, I better pray Jum'ah. If I don't pray Jum'ah, they're going to start talking about the money. I have to pray in the front line, I have to pray in the mosque. Which are good things to do. But if you do it out of fear of what people are saying, it's showing off. It's riyah. Well, how about this one? Well, when you're by yourself at home, you don't have much energy to pray, not much energy to do anything, not much energy to read the Quran. But all of a sudden you sit in the mosque, and all of a sudden now the energy comes to read the Quran, to pray, and do all these things. Which, coming to the mosque is a good thing. We need to check, why is it that a building can make you read more Quran than sitting at home? Why is that when people see you, you start acting more pious? Well, how about another example? The ones who are not married. A person who wants to get married to a girl. And he wants to impress the father. So what do? And the father always, mashallah, his father's practicing Muslim. So he wants to impress the father, so the father will let him marry the girl. So he starts coming to the mosque. He starts praying. He starts getting in the hair, sitting in the front line. He starts wearing the thobe, starts wearing the hat. And starts reading more Quran, studying, and mashallah, always in the front. And always when you say Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, he wants to see, is he here or not? And if he's not there, you feel, what a waste of time was today. What a waste, subhanAllah. That's another example. Or how about in da'wah? People who do da'wah, involved in da'wah. And with a crowd of people there, it's mashallah. More energy. And when two people come, no energy. His classes are different. Classes are different when there's two, compared to when there's 200 people. There's a Sheikh in Syria, and he had the class. And he opened up his class, and for 10 years, the only person that would come to his class was the caretaker of the mosque, who was waiting for him to finish so he can turn light off. And every day, or every class, the Sheikh would prepare. For 10 years, nobody came to his class. And every day, he'd prepare. He'd prepare for his class fully. Prepare and read and study. And the only person that would come, and this is true, I'm not making this as a Sheikh in Syria, the only person that would come was the caretaker, because he had to be there. Because he's the last, he has to wait for him to get out so he can look. So then what the Sheikh would do, he'd be teaching, and teaching the caretaker. And the caretaker, mashallah. After 10 years, what happened? And then people started coming, 1 or 2 people, 3, 4, and people started seeing, mashallah, this person's sincere. Started coming. Now you go to his mosque now, and you can't get in. You can't get in the mosque anymore. You have to get to the mosque an hour before to get a space. Allah tested him. 10 years. Now some of us if we did a class, no one came for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, we'll stop the class. 10 years he went on, teaching, and Allah's testing. Is he sincere? And he prepared, every class he prepared as if, why? This person's not doing it. This person's not doing it for people. Big difference. He's doing it for Allah. He's not worshipping people. He's worshipping Allah, and it doesn't matter. He's interacting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's not interacting with people. So for him it doesn't matter if 2 or 2,000 people, because he's trying to make Allah happy, not the people happy. If the hearts come to the class, if the hearts come to the mosque, if the hearts come to the khutbah, if the hearts come to the shaykh, that's with Allah. Allah will move the hearts and takes the hearts away. And we're not responsible for numbers. I'm not responsible for the numbers here. That's Allah. Allah brings the hearts. Allah takes the hearts away. As He does, as He wills. Or how about this one? When you're giving a talk, and this is people in da'wah, they fall down in this one, giving a talk, nice talk. I'm not sure there's pretty women, young sisters there in the crowd, listening. Then subhanAllah, the next time you talk is, dropping a few more jokes, you're trying to impress. And now you're trying to impress the women in the classes that you do. I mean, if there's no women, khalas, you close, but you don't wear any perfume. Now, when you come to the class, you don't prepare as much, you're not dropping as much jokes. You don't find the motivation as strong as when there's women there. People in da'wah, they find this, they make this big mistake. Or how about showing off in sunnahs? The fard, you do them, but your sunnahs, if people are there, you do more sunnah. You feel embarrassed not to pray your sunnah afterwards, to get up and walk out. Astaghfirullah, people may say, why am I doing my sunnah? Why am I praying my extra sunnahs? It doesn't matter. Another example. And some of us probably have made this mistake. You walk in the mosque and you pray. And then praying your salah. And then someone taps you to join your prayer. Now all of a sudden, your prayer that was short, when you didn't read the second surah, reading a second surah sunnah after the Fatiha, now you're reading a long surah. Now you're perfecting it. Now you're a lot more. Before you up and down, your salah. Now because someone's tapped you on the shoulder, now you're slowing down. Now you're reading more. You're doing more than you would have had they not been behind you. Are you doing it for Allah? Or are you doing it for the people behind you? Irrelevant. You should be reading the same, your salah should be the same length as if when the people are behind you or not. And now some people's sunnahs are shorter than the fard. Some people's sunnahs. There's other examples, inshallah, we'll do tomorrow. Imam Ghazali has several pages of examples. There was a man who prayed in the front line for 20 years. In the front line. And one day he came late. And then he realized he felt a bit embarrassed. Not because he missed the first line, because he lost a lot of reward. Because what are people going to say? SubhanAllah, people are going to say, oh, he never came today. Oh. And he felt something, he felt unhappy. People might start talking about it. Then he stopped and thought, what does that matter what people think? Whether I pray or not, am I praying for the people? Am I praying for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? And then he realized for 20 years his prayer in the front line was for people. He was showing off to impress people. That's what it was. So he did qada of 20 years of prayer. He made up those 20 years of prayer again. Showing off. Be careful. It's riyah. That's hidden shirk. People don't think about this. Be careful. How many of us do things? Even me, as the Imam of the mosque, I've got to be careful. Doing my khutbah. If people come, when you're sincere, how do you know when you're sincere? When people's praises and people's criticisms are the same thing. That's when you're sincere. That's when you're doing it for Allah. When people criticize you and people praise you, it's the same. Whether they criticize you or whether they praise you, it doesn't matter. You're not doing it for them, you're doing it for Allah. Whether people say that was the best class, the best lecture, whatever. And then people say, I was the worst lecture, the worst talk ever. It doesn't faze you. Why? Because you're not doing it to entertain the people. You're doing it for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as long as Allah's happy, it doesn't matter what people think. Big difference when people praise you. When praise and madh with them are the same, that's when you're sincere. Until then, when people's praises make you more energetic, and when people's criticisms of you and in your da'wah and your wherever and your work you're doing hold you down, you're not sincere. But you're still far. When people's criticisms can get you more motivated to be a better person, to be stronger and do more da'wah and learn more. And then people's praises pull you, and people's criticisms pull you back. What else? Allah has promised you Jannah. That's enough praise. Allah has promised you that if you do this, you're like His prophets. Khalas. And Allah has criticized you that if you don't do it, if you don't act accordingly, you can go to hell. That's enough praise and enough criticism that you need. Which doesn't mean that we don't encourage people to be good Muslims. In the beginning, you need encouragement. Yes, on the mosque, well done. But if you're always wanting, like the animal, always wanting to be fed, spoon-fed, eventually you get old enough, your iman becomes strong. You don't need people to praise you. You don't need people's approval. That's what I'm trying to say. You don't need people's approval. Whether they approve of you or they don't approve of you, it doesn't matter. As long as Allah approves of me, as long as I'm doing it correctly, as long as I'm sincere, I don't give a damn what people think. That's how we should be. That's when you're sincere. And some people they'll come to the mosque if their parents bring them. The children are different. Older young men, we shouldn't be like that. We shouldn't be coming to the mosque when so our parents don't shout at us, or the people don't talk about us. And even some of our sisters, they wear hijab. If you ask them why do you wear hijab, goes, well, if you don't wear it, people start talking about it. It's aib. That's what some people say, it's aib. Are you doing it because it's aib, or are you doing it because Allah told you not to wear the hijab? I told you to wear the hijab. Big difference. Big difference. A sister who wears the hijab, out of fear that people may talk about her and talk bad about her, it's not like the sister who wears hijab for Allah. Whether they criticize it or praise it, I'm doing it for Allah. It's active worship with the hijab. Or people will have beards. People have a beard. They have a beard because if they don't have a beard, people criticize them. Oh, you're a bad Muslim. If they criticize, if they praise you, it's irrelevant. Your beard is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're trying to pray, you're trying to copy the Prophet. So that's how you do it. Allah. These things are quite exact. Daqiq. You have to be careful. Hasib anfusakum. Check yourselves. Even wanting to be filmed on the camera. Or if my class is different when I'm filmed and when I'm not filmed, then it's something I'm going to check. What's wrong? Why is when a piece of plastic is in front of me, my worship is suddenly stronger? And when that piece of plastic isn't there, my worship now is less. Am I worshiping the plastic or am I worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? People don't think like this. This is why people don't like Imam Abd Alawi. Because people don't like him. He reveals to you your true nature. And some people will say, subhanAllah, maybe we've never done a prostration sincerely for Allah. Maybe we haven't read Allah. Some people might have read the whole Quran several times in Ramadan. A lot of it is just they say to themselves, I read three khatams of the Quran. Feel good about themselves. Why? Is it numbers? I prayed Taraweeh, I prayed 20 Taraweeh tonight. And what? MashaAllah. And then when people afterwards say, MashaAllah, Ibn Fulan, or so and so, you're always praying and praying to Tamam, when it Mubarak, when it Salih. And you feel, yes, I'm feeling it. I feel good. Oh, you're feeling good when people praise you. Well, Allah Azza wa Jalla, Allah will then send people to criticize you, to teach you. He's only doing it to show off. He's pretending. After Ramadan, you won't see him again. That's what people say. And then what happens? They hate you. And then you start practicing. You weren't sincere in the beginning. When people's praise and people's criticisms are the same to you, whether they praise you or they criticize you, it doesn't matter. You're still going to do what you're doing. That's Islam. Allah.
You said when someone